He is with Lisa Nandy. Good evening, Chris. Good evening. What's Lisa got to say about tonight's performance?
Hi, Bev. Welcome back to the spin room here in the BBC after this seven-way debate. With me now is Lisa Nandy, the Labour frontbencher. Lisa, thanks for joining us on GB News tonight. It's great to see you here. The big question at the beginning was, would Keir Starmer defend this country with a nuclear deterrent? And Angela Rayner couldn't quite answer the question initially. Will he keep the country safe?
Well, I think she did answer the question, actually. I think she couldn't have been clearer that she has a brother who served in Iraq, and this matters to her. It's personal to her. And I think you could see the reaction on the faces of the audience when she said so. I think what we saw from Penny Mordaunt tonight was nothing short of disgraceful. It's clear that the Conservatives are getting more and more desperate, and there was again throwing out lies about Labour's tax commitments, attacking Angela Rayner for commitments that we've already made that she supports, about renewing the nuclear deterrent, for example, which is very much part of our party policy and will be in our manifesto. The really striking thing for me was that in amongst all of that, Penny Mordaunt trashed Rishi Sunak for not coming home too quickly from the D-Day celebrations 3 times. And if you want any better indication that another 5 years of the Tories means another 5 years of chaos, it's the fact that there was an audition going on that stage tonight. 2 people vying to be the next leader of the Conservative Party, Nigel Farage and Penny Mordaunt. There was only one person who was speaking directly to the country, and that was Angela Rayner.
Well, on the issue of leadership, Penny Mordaunt said that the real leader of the Labour Party is Angela Rayner. The Tories clearly think that she's a weakness in your armoury.
I don't know why the Conservatives would think that attacking Labour for having a strong working class woman in a key position in the leadership would be seen by the public as a strength, but I think it tells you a lot about this current crop of Conservatives. And the truth is that it looked to me tonight, from the way that Penny Mordaunt was running scared on that stage, that actually the real leader of the Conservative Party right now is Nigel Farage. And I think if you want any better indication of what a mess they would continue to make of this country, it's the fact that their own internal squabbles and disputes were out on full display tonight at the one moment where they had to find it in them to respond with empathy to people talking about the reality of their lives.
On the issue of tax, let's not relitigate the £2,000 figure which the Tories push out, but Angela Rayner said we have absolutely guaranteed we will not raise taxes for working people in this country. Is that right? Because The Guardian reports that you're looking at 12 to 14 tax rises in the autumn budget.
Yeah, but this is the point. First of all, that is a lie that Labour is going to raise taxes by £2,000 on people, and I think it's been widely discredited, and Angela was very clear about that. Whereas by contrast, Penny Mordaunt accepted that under the Conservatives, taxes are at the highest level on working people for 71 years. And we want to see that come down. That is our ambition. We're not going to raise VAT, we're not going to raise national insurance, we're not going to raise income tax. We're going to grow the economy, spend responsibly and fund our public services through the economic growth that this country's been denied after 14 years, during 14 years.
But you've got to increase debt, you've got to increase taxes or cut public services to fund your programme.
Or spend money more responsibly through the Office for Value for Money that we'll introduce. Stabilise the economy. Delivering a stable economy is our #1 pledge, because through that you can keep people's mortgages and rents and taxes much lower than they've been under this disastrous Conservative government, particularly Liz Truss, and grow the economy. And the chief way that we'll do that is to get Britain building again, to get money back into people's pockets, good jobs in every part of the country, and create that economic growth that can fund good public services.
Just last question here. GB Energy stands for giant bills, according to Penny Mordaunt, and Nigel Farage said that net zero was a bad policy, a fool's paradise. Are you not going to try and ladle us all up with green policies no one can afford if you win power?
No, and it does make you wonder who is coming up with this stuff for Penny Mordaunt. It was just absurd. But the more serious point is this. I'm the Member of Parliament for Wigan. This is my home, my community. I know what a bad transition looks like. Ed Miliband, our Shadow Secretary of State for Energy, is the MP for Doncaster. He knows what a bad transition looks like. We are committing, when we publish our manifesto, to creating more jobs for North Sea oil and gas workers than currently exist, but essentially jobs that are future-proofed in clean energy so that they can power us through the next century like their parents and grandparents powered us through the last.
Lisa Nandy, thank you. Just stay there, Lisa Nandy. Bev, that's Lisa Nandy. Have you got one question for her?
Yeah, well, yes, Chopper, I just want to see whether she thought the audience was as biased towards the left as many people who were watching on social media seem to think about that audience. Only the hard left points got a round of applause.
Well, I did think that. Yeah, there's a question that Bev Turner's asking in the studio. Was the audience biased in favour of the left? I say that because there was applause for anti-Brexit remarks, pro-migration, attacks on the government. Have you got that audience loaded, or is the right out of touch with mainstream thinking in Britain nowadays?
Look, I think the reaction of the audience was just quite straightforwardly not left or right, but they raised serious concerns about the cost of living crisis in NHS dentistry and the treatment of our veterans, and they wanted clear answers, and that's what they got from Angela Rayner, and that's why I think you saw such a strong response in the audience. I know from my experience that people hate it when politicians don't answer the question, and that's my honest take on what happened tonight. I think they got straight answers from a straight talking woman, and it's put us in a good place electorally. Now we're going to go out and fight for every vote between now and the 4th of July to deliver that change that Britain needs.
Well, Lisa Nandy, thank you. There you have it, Bev. It was a fair audience, Lisa says.
Well, that would tell us that if Lisa felt they were on side, that maybe it wasn't a fair audience after all. I'd like to ask that question of Nigel Farage and see if he felt the love in the room.
Well, Bev, with me now is Chris Eaton-Harris, the former Northern Ireland Secretary and MP. Forgive me, the current Northern Ireland Secretary and a former MP. Forgive me, Chris Eaton-Harris. Was that audience biased against the Tories?
I know a bad politician will always blame the audience, and I heard your question to Lisa about what they clap for and whatever. I don't think you can read anything into that, because had you gone back to 2016 and any of the debates on leaving the European Union, if you'd have gone by audience reaction alone, we'd have stayed in the European Union with a massive majority. So you don't have to worry about that.
Surely in that case then you're completely out of touch with the mainstream public opinion, because they're applauding anti-Brexit comments and they're applauding pro-migration remarks. I mean, basically you're out of touch in the Tory party.
Never blame the audience, Chris.
How about the people who put together the audience?
Pollsters are always right.
Okay. How did Penny Mordaunt do in there? You think she did okay?
I think Penny did really, really well. I mean, it's really always difficult to be... since these debates really first came about in modern day time, it's always been Conservative government and everybody else kind of launching torpedoes against you. And she made all the points that we wanted to make this evening really, really well. We wanted to make the point that Labour have no credibility in their economic plan, that they are going to tax people tremendously. We wanted to make the point that when it comes to national security, you just cannot trust Labour. And you don't need to think about what Labour say on that. What you need to think about is what our foes say on that. Would Vladimir Putin really believe that Labour would use the ultimate deterrent? And we wanted people to know that Labour's policy on energy is just... it's just the Queen, it's the Mary Celeste. There is nothing in there at all apart from huge cost going on people's bills.
Nigel Farage did get some applause, unlike Penny Mordaunt tonight. He said there that you can nick 200 quid's worth of goods and not get nicked. And that's an indictment on your party's policy for 14 years on law and order.
So, but crime has fallen. If we take away online fraud, crime has fallen 55%. And if you take knife crime, and we did have a very sensible question on knife crime this evening, a gentleman with real concerns about the levels of knife crime. Knife crime has fallen too. If you remove the statistics for London, where the London Labour mayor has got a completely different view on how this should be policed.
Question there from Linda: why does nothing ever get done? You guys just talk and talk at elections and nothing gets better. Haven't you had your time now? It's time for Labour.
So I believe things actually have got done, and a lot of things have got done. When we went into COVID, furlough and the loans that we made to businesses kept our economy alive. That is getting things done. No one expected that the pandemic to come. Brexit, we have left the European Union. Yes, there are still tail end bits of it. I'm Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. I know all about those tail end bits, but we have left the European Union. We can have policies in a whole host of areas that we hadn't had before, whether it be common agricultural policy, our social policy, our trade policy. And
no one has seen any benefit of Brexit at all yet, and you've been in power.
I disagree entirely.
So long.
I mean, actually, if you pay car insurance, you've seen a 50 quid. Your bills would have gone up 50 quid more had we still been in the European Union because of a judgment called the Vanook judgment, which we didn't have to implement. If you look at the trade deals we are doing, this is benefiting British business as we speak. And then we had Ukraine happen, which has put everybody's energy bills up, and we supported people there. So we've done lots of things. Some of things we didn't expect to do, but we've got the 20,000 police extra on our streets. We've delivered on a whole host of our manifesto pledges as well.
One thing you have done is allow 4 million people to arrive here net legally since you took over power in 2010. That's a failure, isn't it? And it's made people poorer, according to Nigel Farage in that debate tonight.
So, I mean, we've definitely got to control illegal and legal routes to migration. The laws we've changed and the rules we've changed this year have cut legal migration by 300,000 already, and we do want to go further, and we do need to get these Rwanda flights off, because if you do not have a deterrent, you're never going to break the criminal gangs that are running people through.
And just very quickly, Penny Mordaunt 3 times criticised the Prime Minister over leaving D-Day early. Was that a leadership grab by her?
No, that's Penny Mordaunt relating to everybody what the Prime Minister himself has basically said. He got a decision wrong and he's apologised for it.
And just finally to ask you, you're leaving Parliament, you're stood down as an MP, you're quitting as Northern Ireland Secretary. You're going to miss all this?
It's Friday night. I'm in a room full of politicians and journalists. Am I going to miss all this? You are kidding.
Chris Narasel, the Northern Ireland Secretary, who is quitting politics shortly. He's not going to miss it, is he, Bev?